Right, how are we doing everybody? Welcome to Russell Heritage Golf. Today we're going to be looking at Alex's golf swing, and Alex is one of 5 people that have appeared on the channel before who are basically on this journey of progression. Alex is a 24 handicap golfer. Previous lessons we've worked very much on his rotation, but we've always focused on his irons. Alex's latest feedback, because it's probably been, I don't know, maybe probably at least 4 weeks since we last caught up, obviously pre-pandemic, so we're still trying to get that progression even though we're all kind of in lockdown at home, is that short irons are okay, putting and things could possibly be tidied up but not disastrous, but the big thing is, like we tend to see with all those sort of mid to high handicap golfers and probably golfers all around, is getting off the tee. So struggling basically getting off the tee. So Alex has kind of sent a swing in. And what we're going to talk about today is potentially a bit of the differences between driver and iron, but more so obviously just talking about how to become better with this essentially. So what we can kind of see with Alex's setup position is that things like posture aren't too bad. You can see in the backswing position is that Alex has gone back a little bit, lost a little bit of the rotational movement that we'd been previously working on, and he looks quite vertically placed over the golf ball. So he looks quite on top of the ball in the backswing position. Now, the thing that needs to change, when it comes to hitting the driver is obviously we need to kind of create more of a shallowing hit on the ball, right? So instead of kind of, should we say, striking down on the back of the golf ball, we need to feel like we're striking more up on the golf ball. And the thing that's going to do that is basically how the hands are moving in space. So when we're hitting an iron, we would generally set up, you'll probably create a small amount of tilt in terms of the shoulders because the trail hand is located lower. And then from there you might swing back, and some people might shift a bit to the right and some people might stay much more centralized. And then from here the hands can take a much more direct route down towards the golf ball, create that clearing action and strike on the back of the ball. With the driver, that doesn't work. The driver, the hands need to work on a wider angle. So we can't necessarily have the hands coming down on such a direct route in towards the golf ball. You've got a couple of options in terms of how to change this. The way that we're going to do it for Alex is the way that I would suggest for most golfers to do it. So in the setup position, ball goes left of centre, and you should create a subtle tilt in action with the shoulders. In the backswing position then, you should feel as though you're getting to a full rotation, which is possibly going to kind of lead you to moving a little bit more towards the right hand side in a tilted rotation. But what we'd also see now is because of this tilted motion, as I transition, the hands would work wider. So essentially creating a subtle tilt, and we did this with Dan's lesson as well, creating a subtle tilt in the setup position and then feeling like you rotate around that angle. Because of the tilt, it's naturally going to move the hands wider than obviously if you're more vertical. So that would be the first thing. Now some of you might think, well, hang on a second, we've seen information with professional golfers, and I see professional golfers that stay still pretty centered, and that's true, but the hand path still has to widen. So the other option is that, and I don't think this would work for Alex, but the other option is that you would still keep the same backswing position, so quite centered, but you'd have to work on a real separation motion. So what happens when we really separate the lower body? And if I kind of demonstrate this, so if I really move, so I demonstrate Alex's backswing position, and then I really move the lower body, what happens is that as the lower body starts to really work at a faster rate of rotation than the upper, is it induces an element of bend in the spine, which basically would re-identify any lost amount of width. So the pros that we tend to see that stay quite centered in the backswing position would create a real separation, which, can you see the way the hands would then go back out on a wider pathway. So if you're naturally doing that, then fine. You don't necessarily need to then start tilting excessively, because then the whole thing would potentially become too wide. But for most golfers, and I would suggest those sort of basically if you're struggling with driver, so mid to high handicap golfers, then what you should be doing, ball position left of centre, a little bit of a tilting motion with the shoulders, but then essentially what you're trying to do is turn around that tilted angle, because that in itself will naturally make the hand swing wider. when you're hitting the driver, you don't need to think about changing what your hands are doing in terms of, oh, I should feel like I'm throwing the club out. The reason why the hands work wider is because of the tilted nature of the setup, which is maintained in the backswing position. So what Alex needs to do to get out of the habit of going vertical, and then, shall we say, adding width at the bottom, is he needs to add more width on the backswing and then start to rotate through. So he just needs to work on the same sort of tips that I've shared with you today and do that same exercise that I got Dan doing, which you guys can do as well, which is dramatically going to improve your ability to hit this golf club. It's a key one, and it's one that's generally going to improve you at arguably the fastest rate. So 100% start doing those drills, see how they feel, and learn those new movements, and you're definitely going to start to see some sort of progression. So hopefully you enjoy the video. Always appreciate a thumbs up and a like. Remember, it's absolutely free to press that subscribe button. If you're going to do so, press the little bell icon. It means you receive notifications every time a new video comes out. Catch up with you guys again soon.